What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you on a Friday. We have made it to the end of the week. A little bit cooler out there, relatively speaking. It's still Florida hot, of course, but at least we've broken free from the extreme crap that we had earlier in the week and last weekend. It's going to be a hot weekend, of course. However, it is going to be just a touch better. It certainly felt better out there over to the evenings. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining. As always, I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegges. We're coming at you live on News 6 Plus and on clickorlando.com and, of course, the News 6 YouTube page tonight. We're going to be talking about a bunch of things. We're going to get you all set for the weekend. So we're going to go over the forecast for the state of Florida. Again, it is not as. Notice that the stars are next to the word as because it's still going to be hot, of course, but we're going to back off the heat index a little bit, and it means everything. So not as hot. Again, emphasis on the as. Then we're going to check in on the tropics. Of course, we've entered August now, and August is when we stop playing games in the tropical Atlantic. June and July, of course, are a part of hurricane season, and we have had very strong hurricanes in the month of June and July. Just last year, we had the example of Hurricane Beryl, of course. We had Hurricane Emily in 2005. Those are the ones that just pop into my head at this point in time. However, those are kind of the anomalies. Once we get to August, that's when the real season starts. And really, once we get to about the third week in August, that's whenever we typically see that spike in tropical activity, at least on a climatological part there. So we're going to go over that part. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to break down some of your comments and questions. So please keep them flowing into the chat room tonight, and we will make sure that we get your comment over. Zachary, hope you're doing well this evening. That's supposed to be your name, but sometimes it just doesn't load up, and tonight is one of those times. It's a Friday. The technology doesn't want to work with me tonight. Kevin, hope you're doing well, my friend. Jody, Elizabeth, Mimi Love Goodlaw, hope you're doing well. Melissa, welcome to the live stream. Okay, so we're going to get into the Florida part over the first several minutes that we're hanging out. Here's the deal for tomorrow. This is Saturday, August 2nd. By the way, we're taking a live look tonight in Oak Hill, Florida, and then in Miami, Florida, as, again, we break down the weather across the entire state and then have a look at the tropics coming up in just a couple of minutes. Pensacola, we're going to be Kula. I don't know where the heck Kula came from. I think I just combined Pensacola with it's going to be cooler than normal tomorrow, so we got Pensacola. Did that on accident. 93 in Tallahassee tomorrow. Jacksonville, we're back to above average. Again, that orange box represents where we're going to be above average. 95 in Orlando. Vero Beach, we're at 92. Naples, we are the gray box. That means that we are pretty much right where we should be for this time of the year. We are at 93 degrees in Miami. Here's the deal. Tomorrow and really working its way into Sunday, we have this cold front stalling out. So we have a stationary front moving in out of the deep south. And what that does is it helps to really increase rain chances, especially on Sunday, across the northern tier of the state of Florida. Again, you see all that green and yellow moving across the screen there. That's where we have the opportunity for things to be on the cooler side, at least cooler than normal. So again, for that, we're talking St. Augustine, Jacksonville, Lake City, Pensacola, Apalachicola, Tallahassee, and that's going to be mainly in the day on Sunday. So that is that front. It's helping to increase the rain chances. We don't get the nice, refreshing stuff that, say, maybe the mountains of Georgia have received, the Carolinas. They got a nice, clean sweep from their crazy heat. We, of course, are in Florida, and we have to wait until about the end of October. And we know it can still be hot at the end of October. But nonetheless, we don't get one of those cold fronts on average until mid to late October. So we have to wait a while, unfortunately, to get the nice clean sweep. But we'll take the rain when we can get it so that we can not be in a drought and feel a little bit better in the afternoon and evening especially. I want to show you the high-resolution radar to plan your day tomorrow. And this just tells the story early on. So this is 11 o'clock. If you have an early beach day tomorrow, if anybody's going on the Gulf side tomorrow, notice the storms from about Fort Myers to St. Pete to Tampa, back to part of the Big Bend, the Panhandle. Just be on the lookout for some early downpours tomorrow. And then we'll keep some scattered thunderstorms in the mix through a bunch of the day. And that will continue to be the case as we move forward during the day on what's tomorrow? Saturday. It's the weekend. So again, it's not going to be that huge of a deal tomorrow. Just again, if you're out west on the Gulf Coast, out west makes it sound like you're going to the desert. But if you're on the Gulf Coast, Chessie System from Spring Hill, hope you're doing well. You watch out for a couple of downpours tomorrow. You're going to have a shot early on. That's 11 o'clock, and there are some downpours likely going to be nearby. And that's, again, going to be courtesy of this front. So with that front being there, that kind of shifts the wind direction. You see the arrows here out of the west. So that's going to help to generate some of those early morning downpours and thunderstorms on the Gulf Coast. So don't be surprised if you're heading to Tampa, maybe for breakfast in the morning, or heading to Cedar Key, Fort Myers. Don't be surprised if there are those early morning downpours out there when we are talking about, again, those the early start to the weekend. So here's the heat index for tomorrow. And again, this is what I was talking about. Yeah, it's still hot, okay? Like, don't get me wrong. 106 is ugly, but it's better than 110, 112, 115 that we had last weekend and Monday and Tuesday. So some subtle improvements when it comes to the heat. Subtle. It's more like what we had today versus what we had last weekend. Last weekend was brutal. I think we'll at least have a better start to the weekend with regards to the heat. And again, here's the heat risk map. This is the best thing I can show you. Who remembers, show of hands, post in the comments, whenever I showed this, last Monday and Tuesday, the entire state of Florida was basically purple. Now we even have yellow showing up, and that's because of the extra clouds and rain. We do still have some red popping up. Okay, so we still have some major heat. We do still have some purple and blotches in Sumter and Southern Lake County. But nonetheless, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as what it was. It's not as widespread as what it was. Okay, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to queue up all the tropical graphics. We're going to go a little in depth. What we should be looking at, what some of the models are showing. There has been a stir over the past week. We've been talking about that because the AI models have gone bonkers and bananas, whatever thing that you want to say. And our math and physics-based models have kind of held. They really have not bit on anything developing in the Atlantic for the most part over the next week to 2 weeks, even though the AI models have gone crazy. So we are going to look at that. We're going to break that down, and then we're going to talk about, is this season a bust? It was about this time last year that everyone was like, the season's a bust. And then it wasn't. And I think we're going to be back in that same boat again. Stick around. I'll see you in 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys, we are so back. Hope everybody's having a great Friday night. I really appreciate you taking the time on a Friday evening as your weekend is underway to hang out with us and just talk about the weather. Of course, a lot going on. We've had a super hot week. The tropics, thankfully, have been nice and quiet. There's been some buzz early on for the month of August. I think the bigger buzz might be right smack dab in the middle of August. That might be the Atlantic's real first shot at getting something. Now, we're going to go through a bunch of things. I first want to show you what's going on the Pacific side right now. And this is one of the reasons why the Atlantic is quiet, at least in the short term. In the long term, if you've been hanging out with me, we've talked about the Atlantic has some stability issues. It is very stable. So not only when storms come off of Africa, they're dealing with some dry, dusty air right now, but there's also stability. So when thunderstorms try to grow, they just can't. And that's a good thing, of course. And that's one of the issues that we were having last year. See, a lot of people talking about coffee. Did I say something weird? People are like, everyone, Elizabeth is like, coffee, Jonathan. I got it, though. I have it. I filled up 9 o'clock fresh that I can keep on rolling right on through a showtime at 9 o'clock. So thank you, guys. Melissa, I have it right in here, fresh and hot. So here's what's going on in the Pacific. Central Pacific, we have Iona. It's still a tropical storm. We talked about this one last week. Then we have Gil out here. That looks kind of impressive. And then this red bubble, there's another high shot for tropical development. This is the storm responsible right there. And then we have another storm behind it that has a low shot for development. That will likely grow as well. So the Central Pacific, the Eastern Pacific, absolutely juiced. That's the deal. Back, don't want to use that satellite. That was my Pacific satellite. Over the Atlantic, look at this. There's hardly anything. And no new development is expected over the next 7 days. That will be a through August 8th. Okay, so Rebecca brings up a really good question, and I'm actually going to answer that in the next few minutes because I'm going to show you the modeling, and I'm going to try to bring up our preseason forecast graphic that we made because it's gonna help. Let me just see if I have that off the top of my head or off the top of my in my graphics chart. I have it somewhere. So I'll try to find that. Maybe I'll try to find that in the next break, so that I don't take up too much time. But it's going to answer your question anyway. So here's the deal. This was the tropical wave that the AI models went nuts with, like bonkers. There it is. It is very much an open wave with disorganized showers and thunderstorms. So a win for physics. Now, I don't like, see, there's where the Bermuda High is. Let me get my, sorry, to grab the wrong button. We don't like whenever they cling to the islands like that because that means not only there's their interaction with the Caribbean islands, but then there's also a better shot that they don't swing out before hitting the United States. So a couple of things that we're going to be watching with that. But anyway, this was the wave that the AI models, I think, pretty much had developed at this point. When we get these waves right here, I would still keep a close eye on it, though, because it's a little more favorable closer to the Turks and Caicos in the Bahamas and up the southeast corner of the United States. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a yellow tag pop up, but there is basically no model guidance on that thing now. Here's the deal. There's still a lot of dust. Somebody mentioned in the comments earlier that there's record low dust, and he's absolutely correct. This season has seen the record low of Saharan dust kind of eject off, but right now there's enough of it. You see all the brown. There's another tropical wave right in here, a couple of them. One right there, another one there. More getting ready to roll off of Africa, but they are met by dry, dusty air, and they really don't stand a fighting chance, and we like all of that. So far, so good on that front. The cautionary tale, though, and I'm going to talk a lot about this on Monday on some of the reasons. I'm going to show you some graphs. I'm getting all things ready for my Tropics Watch newsletter. And by the way, if you want to be visited in your email by me every single Monday during hurricane season, go to clickorlando.com/newsletters and you can sign up for the Tropics Watch newsletter. It is free. You get my take on the tropics every Monday, and we're going to focus a lot on this, the season to come, and then maybe the buzz that could be that. I'm going to get to that in just one second, Melissa, because there might be, I've seen enough indication anyway, that our first go of things in the Atlantic, our first real threat, Chantal was a real threat for the Carolinas, but the first real threat to the Caribbean islands and maybe the Southeast United States might be materializing in the middle of August, but it still has some work to do. I'll show you that in just one second. The orange box here from August 1st through November 30th, that's what we have left to go. So you see the sharp increase in activity after about the mid-August. So 90% of the season is still yet to come. So think about that. And I think this chart puts it into perspective. Climatologically speaking, we don't see our first hurricane until August 11th. So yes, it has been below normal. Yes, the intensity of the storms have been below normal. However, in terms of where we should be, we're not behind schedule at all in terms of hurricanes or major hurricanes. I think the perception, because the last few seasons, take last year out of it, but the last few seasons have been so juiced early on that I think it's kind of skewed our perception a little bit. This is more of a normal hurricane season. June and July are typically quiet, and then things really start to ramp up in mid-August. Last year, it took until like late September, and it still ended more active than normal. So that's the thing I want to caution. So here we go. This is the breeding grounds. This is where we typically see storms form, and that's going to be out into the central Atlantic. So real quick, I just want to show you this, and we're going to touch a lot more on this on Monday, and our homework assignment is going to be to see if we kind of hold this signal through the weekend. So this is one of the AI models. And again, I had it brought up to show you the wave that was out there that really didn't develop. So the AI model has washed it out completely. But watch what happens here. Nothing. And then we have this weak thing. Start to pop up right here, okay? This is the Euro AI and it's one run. And then look what happens. It gets strong, goes through the Bahamas, and then gets close to Florida. Now, this isn't gospel. The AI models have already whiffed. However, they did well last year, the Euro AI, which is what I'm showing you right now. So to answer the question of, do I think Rebecca's question, I believe it was, one of the things that it has looked like since before the hurricane season began, and what it continues to be, is high pressure anchored over the north and east. That's something that we call the ridge over troubled waters pattern, just like the song Bridge Over Troubled Waters, I think Simon and Garfunkel. When you have a ridge of high pressure right here, that helps to get things closer to land. It's why we thought that there was a higher than normal shot for an Atlantic eastern seaboard strike, whether that be from the Bahamas to Florida to the Carolinas, maybe even up towards Ocean City, Maryland. That's one of the reasons why we thought that there was a higher than normal shot. So that is just one model. And again, we don't like to look at one model. You hear me preach that all the time. But I want to show you the ensembles now, that with that same wave, these are the SpaghettiOs. Every little circle that you see pop up is a storm. So during that same time period, this is August 13th. I think that was August 14th. There's a very wide spread, of course, from about Nova Scotia to Texas, but it's trying to hint at something that there could be some tropical development towards the middle of the month. The Atlantic is still very stable. I don't see that changing. However, the one thing that I agree with, and the one thing that David and I mentioned when we collaborated and put together our forecast, we thought that the MDR, the main development region, would be pretty hostile this year, and that we'd have to watch for these kind of naked waves get close to land and then find an environment that they like and then spin up pretty quick. And that's what the ensemble and the AI model both show with a wave that's still currently over Africa. So, I mean, this is something that is 2 weeks out. It's also going to get a little bit of help, but still, it is 2 weeks away. All right, I'm way over my time. I have to get a quick break in, and then we'll have like a minute left just to say bye and maybe answer one question. Alrighty, guys, just have a couple of, just literally a minute to answer some questions. It is the Tropics Watch newsletter there. You can go to clickorlando.com/newsletters. Nothing until the 11th. I won't guarantee that. And I won't guarantee anything after that either. It looks like we should be good to go for the next week to 10 days. And it's going to be after the 11th where a little something can come up. But I'm still concerned for the storm that the Atlantic is just going to be too stable to really support it. Although once it gets closer to land, the environment does get a little bit better. So there's a lot of things we have to watch. But again, that's like 2-ish weeks out. Melissa, New Smyrna tomorrow night. Tonight you're good. Tomorrow night, we'll be watching for storms coming from west to east. That's going to be the flow. So between I-4 and I-95, that's going to be our best shot for storms over the weekend. Alrighty, guys, I have to wrap this thing up. News 6 at 10 starts. We're going to talk about, of course, those storms again in Central Florida. If you don't have News 6 Plus, please do me a favor. Download it. It is free. If you don't live in the Central Florida area, if you live maybe in Polk County, and you don't get people covering you, we cover you in Central Florida. I know you're the Tampa market, but we cover you there. You can download that. You can see all of our news, and you can see all of our weather and tropics loops that I have built on News 6 Plus. So you can just, if you like to stare at the satellite all day like I do, that's a good spot to do it. And that is a free download, of course. Alrighty, guys, I hope you have a great, safe weekend. We're back here 9:30 on Monday. It's going to be Tropics heavy because my newsletter comes out at around 7 o'clock-ish. And, of course, we're going to be talking about that. It's going to be 4 more days of model runs to look and all that stuff. Mimi Love Goodlaw, yours says every Thursday because that's the weather team's newsletter. So our weather team has one. That's the News 6 Weather Insider. That comes out every Thursday. My personal one on that's the Tropics one completely, just all Tropics all the time. It's only live in hurricane season, of course, but that comes out every Monday evening, and you can find that one. So we have 2 as a team, my personal one and then the one that the weather team puts together every Thursday. Again, that QR code will take you to there's a lot of newsletters on our page, clickorlando.com. So you'll be closer to the bottom as Elizabeth just showed up, and you just put your email in there. It's a free sign up and everything. But yeah, that's why. So you can be visited. I can be in your inbox 2 times a week if you want that. I don't know why you would, but I appreciate it. Thank you guys for signing up. Thank you guys for being here. Alrighty, have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you on Monday at 9:30, or heck, stick around. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. News 6 at 10 on News 6 Plus and on the News 6 YouTube page. See you then.